illusion of having everything under control of your life and having a very secure job and having your house. Our responsibilities is also to provide social assistance when the system cannot do that. We need long-term treatment. From the moment that person was in a house, having shower, having access to cook their own food, having a decent bed and warm bed where to sleep, and wake up in the morning with the sensation that you actually sleep, that is 50% of the treatment. I mean, I would rather invite anybody to go camping in winter with a plastic tent, and then you will let me know. The most the person is in these conditions, the more open is your heart. Would you come, or you would stay in Afghanistan? And they say, I would rather live here than die there. Many people sometimes feel hopeless and useless because they are not here or there, but actually that is not true. Everybody can do anything from the place you are. Yes, I believe there is very much fear on young professionals. Yeah. This illusion of having everything under control of your life and having a very secure job and having your house and be able to pay your bills and all of that. Of course, we need all of this, but we cannot forget that our responsibilities is also to provide social assistance when the system cannot do that, because we live in a system that is very much worried about the profit rather than prioritize the well-being of the people, especially when these people cannot have the chance to pay for that well-being. Yeah. So then is when our responsibility as a citizen, as a professional, and as person is to step a little bit out of our comfortability and have the courage to do something for others rather than just for us. Mm-hmm. I believe I'm not judging anybody. I am not doing that is not what I attempt to do. But I understand, because I've been working and living in different countries in South America and Europe, and I understand what is most of the time the mentality and the belief of the professionals. It's not easy. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy when you try to do something that is on your own, or is not for profit. It's not for making rich somebody else, but it's just to help when people cannot and they are totally under vulnerability. Being a refugee is something that not many people is in a position to understand. Is a phenomenon, is a life experience that is much more deep and traumatized that you could possibly imagine. In this context, is mandatory that we need to have our focus our energies on providing some assistance in this environment.
Exactly. And that not everything is focused on being rich, on the economy.
No, because it's not healthy.
Yeah, exactly.
As simple as that. It's not healthy. It's not healthy in a short term, and it's not healthy in a long term as a society. A permanently growing in wealth is not a healthy way of living.
I fully agree. I am really proud and happy that I'm able to talk today to Fabiola Velasquez. Fabiola, welcome to our small little talk today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. This is an interview, a talk I'm doing on behalf of our online charity event, Circle of Pioneers, which takes place from 25th to 28th of February, and which is designed as a conscious wave of trust, of liveliness, and of lust for life, because we are now currently more than 60 trainers working on that. We believe that this is the right, or this is the normal feeling that we should have as a human being. And we believe also that humanity has to become a much higher priority. And that's why we, from this charity event, collect donations. On the one hand, for young people, for children, for families here in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, but also we want to forward money to Greece, to the project of Fabiola, and that's why we are talking today. Fabiola, you are the founder of the Earth Medicine Project, and you are actually a physical therapist, and you call yourself on your website a social activist, which I like because you are doing this job, I think, now for 15 years, and also in many countries, not only Greece, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what is so important for our interview, because it is so touching what is happening there in Greece on Lesbos. You designed a kind of container which serves as a clinical center in Karatepe camp, and also I think people from Moria can come to your clinical center.
Yes, when Moria was operating, we had most vulnerable cases from the Moria camp as well to Karatepe facilities. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And what I'm, in the first glance, what I'm interested is, I think I read somewhere that in 2018, it was the only project that provided physical rehabilitation to refugees on Lesbos. Is it still the case? Are you still only?
That is right. Most of the time, or very often, the help that refugees can receive is a primary care, because there was this belief that they will be a short period in Lesbos, so they wouldn't stay more than a year. But as this crisis became more and more difficult, then the system could not handle it. So the refugees remain in the camp for more than a year, 2 years, and even more. So I believe that is one of the reasons why there are no long-term medical care. So I think it was in the last 2 or 3 years that we began to realize that these people will remain longer inside the camp. And I found myself living already in Lesbos. So I decided to do something that could allow the refugees to have access while they were waiting for their asylum, for their paper, for the documentation and everything. I tried to reach a few organizations 2 years ago, explaining that we needed to have a rehabilitation project because there were many people coming with chronic injuries from countries that were under war or violence, and that therefore during their waiting here we needed to have that project that could allows them to recover a little bit, but also prevent further injuries.
Mm-hmm. And this is how your project was set up or created?
Yes, yes, that was my initial idea. And as I started working, I realized that there were very much people having from spinal cord injury to brain injury, cerebral palsy disorder, children with broken limb, fractures, and etc. So the project entered into a complexity, medical complexity that I was not ready for that. For two reasons. Basically, you need people, you need professional, and secondly, you need facilities. So I start focusing on the facilities, and luckily we got 3 containers, very nice containers, and slowly we've been equipped them with the necessary staff to be able to work. Then the corona thing came and we could not receive any longer physiotherapy or therapists coming working as a volunteer. So the next step for this job, for this project, would be having enough financial support so then eventually we can hire somebody with a salary to be able to work full time with me as well. I believe that having the facility and having the personnel, then you have half of the project already in the way to succeed. Even though I was working mainly alone here, we have a couple of great success as well on young guys, young people from Afghanistan, and children as well. And of course, none of this could have been possible without people's support behind. I mean, I am alone physically here, but I am not alone behind the project. And this has been wonderful because whenever I need something, equipment, medical support, or anything that it would be possible
really
to have, then I just call
have to
people
admit,
and they are willing to help.
It's touching since we've started talking.
From that point of view,
Fabiola, can you maybe give us a picture about
the
conditions
in the
that are
last 2
currently
years
in the camp?
In
yours,
but
the situation
is
different from camp to camp.
Just by yourself alone for how many refugees?
So at the beginning of the year, the first year I worked mainly alone, yes. And then normally from chronic diseases, physical 7 to 10 people per day. Or elderly people, I treat 7 to 10 people per day. When I am with another therapist, then we can double that amount. But this is the work I do inside the camp. But when Moria was still open functionally, I used to go there to locate, to identify the cases, examine it, and do the first assessment to be able to give them assistance after. So that was during the evening normally. Yes, it sounds a lot of work. It is. It sounds very heavy. It is, but it's also it's very moving. It's very. I cannot see myself doing something else. So I am in the right place, in the right situation, doing the right thing I feel I'm doing.
Wow, really impressive. I have to admit, it's touching since we've started talking. So, Fabiola, can you maybe give us a picture about really the conditions that are currently in the camp?
Mm-hmm. The situation is different from camp to camp. Karatepe old camp, where I am based, is a little bit much more well equipped. It has better conditions, but it also the refugees living there are mainly family, highly vulnerable family with chronic diseases, physical handicapped people, or elderly people as well, and children. Mm-hmm. The second camp, which was Moria, or it is now the new camp after the Moria fire, it is very difficult. The living conditions there are very difficult for everybody. The fact that it is located near the sea during the winter is devastating for people. The tents are very humid inside because the wind blows all the humidity inside the tent. Last week I hear a diplomatic or a minister saying that the tent were the camp was equipped for winter, but I mean you cannot live in winter in a tent made out of plastic. That is not winter. A winter facility where to live. I've been there. I've been there every week, and I see the reality of many people, many women, children, young, unaccompanied young people, really struggling in that environment. Assuring that this camp is made for people to live there during wintertime is not a truth. It is not. I mean, I would rather invite anybody to go camping in winter with a plastic tent, and then you will let me know how it is. Mm-hmm. So then you have the access to sanitary facilities, toilet, shower. Be able to shower yourself is not possible every day. If the facility in the camp are as good as the minister wanted to show, then why people are having skin diseases that are related to lack of hygienic and lack of access to basic things for sanitary, for toilet, shower yourself, children having access to clean water or clean toilet. If you put any group of people in the world under these conditions, you will develop exactly the same type of skin diseases.
I can understand. But I don't understand that this situation happens in Europe, to be honest. If people don't get access to clean water. I mean, which world are we living?
Yeah, but it's not something that is impossible. It is very much possible to happen, and it is happened for a couple of reasons. One is stopping people from coming to Europe. This is one reason. They don't want to make things better because many people would come, which is totally, on my opinion, is very silly to think that, because wherever you live, anybody, if your country is under violence, if your life is threatened and you are condemned to die there by a bomb explosion or somebody just shoot at you, then you obviously want to leave. You will leave, and you will take your family and your children, and you will not think twice. So I hear, this is the saddest thing that I have to hear sometime. There was a family that once I asked them, if you knew that you would be living in this condition, would you be coming? Would you come, or you would stay in Afghanistan? And they say, I would rather live here than die there. So the strategy of having a camp that is making people sick is not working. And it's not going to work. People will still come because their countries are not safe for them. So what we need to do is working on that way, preventing from destroying other countries, from destroying the economy of other country, and protecting the peace and the economy of other countries, so then people are not forced to leave their home. That is what we need to do.
That would tackle the problem and the source, really, of everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do people cope with the situation, with the lack of hygienic stuff?
The stronger one, I would say, they just shower outside when it's cold. It just, I have seen it. Young boys, for example, with their underwears, having their bath outside. So they do try to cope. I'm impressed of the resilience of many of them, but of course many of others cannot cope with it, and they cannot cope with it in a way that they get mentally and psychologically ill, as well physically. There are many patients of mine that they start losing weight, for example, no matter what they eat, they cannot regain weight. Then you have the children of having all sorts of abnormality behaviors. They stop speaking, for example, or playing, or they have a lot of headache. They have a lot of skin diseases in the scalp, which is due to the weakness of the immune system, along with the stress that they are constantly living on. Today I had a 7-year-old girl from Syria with a scalp, with all her hair wounded, but she's getting a little bit better with the cream I apply, and with the medical, I took her to the pediatrician as well. When I asked the father how long the girl was in that condition, he says, since we arrived to Moria. And then I said, why she can speak very well. So she said, my daughter is crying a lot because she's afraid of the police. She saw a lot of violence of the police inside Moria. She's afraid every time that she hears an airplane passing through the camp, she's terrified because she has to leave the bombing experience in Syria, in the area where she was living. So we're talking about a girl 7 years old who is highly traumatized. Her body is not responding. She faints twice or once per day because she cannot cope with that amount of stress. She's constantly constipated. She cannot go to the toilet because she's totally blocked. So we are talking about this kind of condition on children, on women, on men, on young elders. Yes. Wow. So they cannot cope. A few of them, they can very much, but others not really.
Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned it already, but I really appreciate on your kind of work. I mean, you are actually, I think in terms of your profession, you're a physical therapist, but you work on with a kind of holistic approach, because you know, yeah, that the physical body cannot heal as long as emotional or mind things are still working in the body, or still working with the person, and also if they are still highly traumatized during a journey that they had to make. So actually, what is your experience in that kind of holistic work that you're doing? And to be honest, I often miss it here in the Western medicine and scientist world, that we apply this thinking that we need to focus also the mind, the emotional injuries, to heal also the bodies, or there is always this effect. Yeah. What is your experience now? You mentioned some already with the children, especially, and with the families. How are they doing? What is the situation for them at the moment?
Their traumas and the consequences of it, there aren't many activities or treatments that could access or guide them in that path. I believe it's for the same reason that I was explaining to you at the beginning, is that nobody thought that these people will stay longer on the island. So when we talk about giving a treatment with an holistic approach, it requires that we need long-term treatment. This is the first. So we need long-term treatment, and we need to be able to change the environment where the person is living. Because no matter what you do, no matter what great therapist you are, from the moment you have that child or that woman or that man on your environment, they will be okay, but after they will go back to a wet tent. So in that case, the success of the treatment is almost impossible. It is not always impossible, but almost impossible. It's 3 times more difficult to achieve a successful treatment when you have this context. You need to take them out of that, because, for example, I have a couple of cases, very, very beautiful cases. I'm going to refer you one particularly. It was a young Afghan, 25 years old, with an injury in both legs. He was a victim of a terrorist attack in Afghanistan. He re-injured himself. He re-broke twice his leg and ankle while living in Moria. So all my effort with that guy was towards strengthening and recover the injury. But it wasn't, I knew that it was not possible for him to continue living inside Moria. I need to take him out. So I went to UN, I request a special vulnerable case for him regarding that he was not having family, he was totally on his own, but being a man, being a 25 years old young man, it seems that you have the strength enough to cope with anything ahead you or anything in front of you. So it was not possible that UN could provide that assistance for him. So I took him into a house in Mytilene. From the moment that person was in a house, having shower, having access to cook their own food, having a decent bed and warm bed where to sleep, and wake up in the morning with the sensation that you actually sleep, that is 50% of the treatment.
Wow.
You know? And that guy, after that, he recovered so well, so beautifully. Everything changed on him. He not only managed to recover the injury, physical injury of his body, but also recovering the deepest trauma that he experienced. So we treat him with herbs, Chinese herbs as well, with acupuncture, with ear acupuncture, and etc., until we managed that this guy was no longer having nightmares, for example, that he could gain weight, that he was not panicking every time that he has to go to the hospital, because, by the way, when he was in Afghanistan after the injury, there was no anesthesia at the hospital, so they performed a surgery, a metal implant on his right leg, totally without anesthesia.
Wow, okay.
So we are talking about cases like that. Mm-hmm. All right. So we need to be able to understand the context. Mm-hmm. So not only you are experiencing a bomb, a bazooka that hit your car, but also then after you go to the hospital and there is no anesthesia. So I have cases where a person were amputated without anesthesia.
Wow.
All right.
You need the full story, actually.
It's the full story of the particular cases. There are people, there was somebody here once asking me why the Afghan people, because I work majority with Afghan and Syria, why all of them are having kidney problems? You know, and I said, look, I can give you my point of view, but of course, maybe it wouldn't matter. If you have a young person, 17, 19, 20, etc., why are you having problem on your kidney? Your water was kind of okay. Your food was kind of okay as well. So what is that make your skin suddenly, your kidney suddenly not working or having stones? Of course, from a Western medical point of view, the doctor would argue a totally different thing with me. They would say, no, it's just excess of whatever, you know. But from an alternative point of view, all the trauma, the highly impact trauma that any person can experience in their life, it will be automatically target into the kidney area, specifically the kidney.
Yeah.
And the urology system. So why many women cannot go to the toilet? Why many women are constipated? Why many women are having problems with their hormones? they are young. So all these things that they are not supposedly to happen in a young person, it is happening. Why people are having high blood pressure while you are young and you are apparently everything is okay. Well, it is okay from one point of view, but if you draw a circle and you place a button in the middle and then you ask, which way do I get in order to get to the center? Then any way is possible will get you to the center. There is not only one way. So we need to start understanding that if we are having a population like the refugees, a Western medicine only alone cannot help them. That was the second reason why I decided to set up this project, knowing that the first things to actually work is the trauma rather than the broken ankle.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of work to do in that field. There is a lot of challenge to overtake, a lot of barrier to jump. So then we are not afraid to actually try something simple. I have women, for example, that they drink chamomile from this island that we pick up in the mountain, which is extremely healthy. And they notice that they feel relaxed and they start drinking and having their tea with chamomile. Well, somebody will say, okay, but it's just a herb. Yes, it is a herb, but it has an immense property to actually calm down your body and help you to sleep. So it seems like simple things that we can apply, like the old school, the old way when our grandparents, they used to heal themselves with natural things, very simple things. Then it seems like these are, old-fashioned things, but just another way to contribute to our health. And I think it's wrong not to take this possibility.
Definitely. I feel when you talk about it, a really high level of healing when you treat all the persons really with this alternative holistic view, that you also take into consideration the whole story and also all the different types of medicines that we know of. And if they can go into the mountains and maybe get their herbs by themselves, I mean, this is a really good thing that they can do during the day for themselves. Yeah.
For themselves, exactly. And now that I got the 2 new containers, there was a man from Afghanistan that he used to participate in a meditation group in Afghanistan. And he came to me and he said, would you allow us to do meditation group? I said, really? And then I asked the rest of the women who was willing to do that and if that was a good idea or not, how they feel. So I tried to search as much as possible. And I found out that actually they created beautiful space where they just sit down and they meditate in their way. There is nobody telling them what to do. So this was a magnificent experience for me. I never say no to something that comes from the person, especially when that idea comes from that person that is in really need, because I am not experiencing what they are experiencing. So I just need to be the witnesses of it and allows to things happen rather than impose. I believe that is our challenge as well in these days. We tend to impose many things. We tend to think that our truth is their truth and there is nothing else. possible, but it's not. And fortunately, we are as diverse as our planet is, and which is fantastic. So perhaps we just need to embrace that diversity and allow things happen naturally.
Wow. I'm really again touched from your work and how you see people really with your heart, and also I believe with your soul, and yeah, that you take them seriously. I think this doesn't happen.
I do. I really do.
Anyone else, yeah. What is the most touching story that you experienced during the last couple of years?
I started this project 2018. It was totally by chance that somebody else called me because there was 2 young boys with a huge back pain in Moria. Back then, I was quite disappointed with many organizations that they didn't quite understood what I wanted to do. But then I understood that it's all right. It's not their fault that they didn't understood. They just were not ready for that. So I accepted to see those 2 guys. One guy was from Congo and the other one was from Afghanistan. Both of them very young, male. The boy from Afghanistan, I understood that it was not enough for me coming just one time and trying to alleviate his pain. But I understood he needed a long treatment. So I told him, would you be willing to come every day for 1 week? He said, yes. I immediately understood, okay, this person comes from Moria. I was working in a place that currently is one happy family, which is 6 kilometers away from the camp. So this young boy was unable to walk very well. The most he walked, the highest pain he felt. So I told him, please don't walk. But then, of course, I told him, get the bus. He didn't have the money for that. So I bought a couple of tickets for the bus. But one day I noticed that he was in pain while we were working. And I asked him, did you walk? He said, yes. Why? I gave you a ticket. Why are you walking? He said, because I rather prefer to give it to a woman with a child coming to the bus, and I walk. What moved me profoundly of that guy was not only his generosity when he most needed, but also his ability and his persistence of coming every day on time, walking 6 kilometers to get his treatment. No matter if it was raining. There was one day that it was so cold, so raining and miserable, and we were all wet. And then I thought, oh, what am I do? What I'm supposed to do? I cannot do anything. But then they were just sitting there looking, and we were looking at each other. And then I say, okay, let's have a warm ginger tea and dry up the clothes. And then if we have time, we will do something else. And that moment, that sharing moment of the ginger tea with drying their clothes was the most beautiful moment as well. So this guy did not stop coming his treatment even though it was raining.
Wow.
And that was the moment that I thought, I can't quit. I cannot go. I need to set up this thing properly and having a space and so on, so on, so on. So the reason why this project is today, it was because of these two guys.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, stories that show that even though they have been facing so many traumatic situations, which we cannot imagine, they are still, yeah, working with their heart and also working on a specific objective and following their dreams and becoming health and so and wow, really.
It's something incredibly to understand. It's very unbelievable, but the person is in these conditions, the more open is your heart. There is no barrier. There is no barrier. So it is much easier to reach you in that way. Yes, that is my personal experience, because I've been working in different settlements, but been working when you have a person that have lost everything. There is nothing that can control that person from being totally open and in honesty. So that relationship between the therapy and that person becomes very unique.
Wow. Again, really impressive what you were telling me. Can you help me a little bit with the figures? How many people are currently in the both camps?
It is unknown.
Okay.
It is unknown. There must be some statistics in the camp, but I lost the tracking, because after the fire, the Moria fire, then many people were moved to Mytilene or villages around. So the system was not able to update fast how many people actually currently are living physically inside the camp. In the old Karatepe camp are more 1,500 family probably.
Wow. And all of them families?
Families.
Wow. Okay. And how many years do they now live there? In general or on average?
In general, a person can wait for the asylum between 1 to 2 years.
Okay. So did you
even longer? Even longer.
Have you already experienced people also getting their asylum?
Yes. Yes, everything happened, from people that got transferred to Athens or Thessaloniki or Germany or Mytilene. They got asylum, they got rejection, they got deported, etc., etc., etc. So everything happened. Okay. Everything can happen.
Okay. Fabiola, one last question. What would you change first? If you could change anything in the world, in the system, what would you change first?
I would. Oh, that's a very difficult question that I'm trying to answer as simple as possible. The first things I would change is the extreme inequality we are living on. Inequality is one of the reasons why many people are inside of a camp living in a tent, and there is a very few other that are in mansions. That inequality we are living, it became criminal. The second thing I would change, because that inequality is directly linked to the economical system we are living. So that economical system, this free market and this globalization created people getting more richer and richer and richer at the expenses of poorest and poorest and poorest countries and continents. Then when you have that inequality that it allows by that economical system, then you have a huge exodus of people trying to get a better life in somebody else's country or far away where you got born. Immigration is something different. I mean, it would be a fantastic way of living if people are allowed to immigrate because they want to have an experience living abroad, exchanging something with another human being. But what we are experiencing today is an extreme exodus of people running from violent countries, from countries that are no longer providing the basic living conditions for you to live in peace. 2 weeks ago, I went with Alia to the life jacket graveyard in Lesbos, and for whoever could or have had the possibility to be there, then you will never be the same person. Something will break inside of you, because then is when you see the result of that is that immense inequality we are living on. The very, very few that they have access to everything, they control everything at the same time. So people, they need to leave their countries and ending up, like they are living in this camp. But we all know that, more or less. So what I would change is that I would change this immense inequality.
Fabiola, thank you for your time. Thank you for your words, which were really touching, and also for the pictures that we could receive through your words. And also thank you for your valuable work that you are doing there day by day.
Thank you.
Yeah, creating this caring, valuable atmosphere and care for the refugees and migrants. Thank you. I really hope also with this interview that we can collect as many donations as it is possible for this event. Thank you for
that. Never know. Thank you very, very much to you for being willing to contact me and trying to do something from whoever you are. That many people sometimes feel hopeless and useless because they are not here or there, but actually that is not true. Everybody can do anything from the place you are. So and that it is as important or even more than being here physically. So I thank you for this time.